Well, if your notes are on there, you can use. Yeah, I'm like.
Like my notes are on there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here with the Define Her Story talk show. We took a couple of months off for the holidays, and I was out of town taking care of family, that kind of thing. We all had busy holiday season. So we are back now. This is our first episode of the year, and it is on the motherhood penalty. And what I want to do first, before I introduce the panelists, I want to just kind of remind everybody that this is an interactive talk show, which means that when you hear something that you agree with or that you like, show us some love by hitting those hearts or hitting the thumbs up. And if we are asking questions, then please feel free to, in the comment section, answer those questions in there. And then as well, if you have questions for us, go ahead and put them there in the comment section, so that way we can see those. We'll read those questions on air and that kind of thing. And then lastly is if there's somebody that you know that would really enjoy the topic, make sure to either tag them in the comments or share it out there so that way they can see that. All right, so introducing the panel, we have two panels who are returning with me this year, so thank you so much. We got Brandy Seifert, Hollywood Hippie, is joining us again, and Alicia Alatasi, owner of Thinking Boutique, where we broadcast our show, so thank you so much for the space. We appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. And then with us new on the panel, you guys, well, actually, Nancy was here before. She was on one of the last episodes of the year. She's the CEO of Sabino Comp Tech. Right, there we go. And then our newbie, yay, is Leslie Richardson. She runs a fantastic high-end travel agency. Yes. Not just, it's with cruise planners, but not just cruises. She also does some land, but nothing domestic, just an FYI. But she is amazing. Absolutely, I know, absolutely amazing. Okay, and so just also, a lot of times what we are doing is we are covering some topics that are a little heavy sometimes, or could be a little negative. But we really are focusing on the positive. We're bringing about awareness to those heavy topics, so that way we can bring about a positive discussion, as well as try to instrument some positive change with it. Hi, Anna. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. All right. So getting into it, just real quick, I'm going to explain what the motherhood penalty is. By the way, we did not intentionally do this, but we kind of divided the table between like the non-moms and the moms.
You're kind of in the middle of it.
I know, kind of in the middle right here. So the motherhood penalty, just real quick, is that women with children get a lack of advancement opportunities in the workplace. They are seen as less competent and less committed as their coworkers who are women who don't have children, and they seem to be poorly matched to the demands of the job. So we're just gonna, and I've got notes and things like that, but I just want to, hi Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. Just kind of thinking about, like, what were your thoughts when you first heard, like, the motherhood penalty is our topic? Because I know what Leslie came up to me and said.
Yes.
So, like, so what were your initial thoughts when I came up to you with the topic idea?
So I immediately was like, I personally don't think I've ever felt it myself, but I could see how that would be a thing. And it's something that I, as I interview people, also consider. So it was kind of a hot topic. I started the discussion with my family, and some of the things that was on the research, it was like, my kids were like, how does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? And so I was like, I don't know. Okay, let's talk about it. Why would it not make sense and all that stuff?
Great discussion.
Yeah, it's a good discussion.
Actually, I was affected by it because when I had my boys, I went to work part-time. Mm-hmm. And so when I tried to go back and work full-time after maybe 5 years of being a part-timer with my boys as they grew up, I couldn't find a job. And it was very hard, even though I was highly qualified, and I had like a lot of nonprofit experience on that part-time position. I was doing a lot of extra stuff that was giving me a lot of extra skill sets. Like I was doing a lot of other things, organizing events. Like I was doing tons of things. When I went back to academia and tried to get a job, that was compensating me at my skill sets, I couldn't get it. I was like, would go to interviews, and I think what happened is they were looking at that gap on that full-time to the part-time 5 years, and I think they were not seeing the additional skills that I acquired working, extra little jobs on the side.
So
They
do you-
consider like a 9 to 5 more important than for
Right.
me doing like little side jobs.
So here's a question for you, because I noticed. By the way, hi Tracy, thanks for joining. Miriam, thanks for joining. So you brought that. I want to look at this. So I wonder if you think it's because of the gap, or simply because of the fact that you were a mom. And the reason why I say that is because I found a piece of research, did years of research, where they said they took 2 identical resumes, but one was a mom and one wasn't. Moms were 79% less likely to be hired. So do you think, did they make any comments within like the interviews and that kind of thing, asking about
one of them did make a comment, and she said, well, how do you plan to come and work this high intensity job when you have 2 kids at home?
Oh.
So they did ask me about the 2,
Yeah.
and they were like, so how do you plan? It's a high intensity job, it's a lot of work, you're going to be here long hours. And so to me, I was like, well, what does that matter? I mean, that's my problem, right? Like,
Right.
I should be able, if I'm here, it's because I feel like I can manage my kids at home. And so I just said to her, and I think it just came out of natural, I don't know. I just said, my boys are pretty independent. It's like, they're older, they're independent. And so I'm coming back to this because they're older now. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of where it went. But I thought, really, for me, it was about the time that I took away.
Wow.
Don't think
Well, it's
it was the mom.
interesting. Something you don't know about me. I used to be a recruiter in
Oh,
my
wow.
past life.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And, I placed full-time professionals in accounting jobs. And that is so illegal for someone to sit there and ask you about
Is it
your
illegal?
kids.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
can, technically they can't. They can only ask, why are there gaps and things like that. But just coming from that standpoint, as far as a hiring manager position, gaps on a resume don't look good, no matter how, no
Right.
matter
Right.
what your situation
matter
is.
what,
It just doesn't
right.
look good, and so you want to fill it in as much as you can. But they can't technically. They're not supposed to ask you specifically about
About my family
your
life?
about your personal on that level.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
I was in management, and my manager above me would I would interview potential artists for the jobs, but then she would select them, and one of them was obviously pregnant, but she was so capable, and she got cut just because she was pregnant. I thought, well, we don't
Wow.
know what her plans are afterwards or any of that. And why
Exactly.
is that even a part of this? Anyway, it's that always
No, it
broke
is. I
my
mean,
heart.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that is.
Yeah.
And
That
that's
reminds
part
me
of
of
that.
Girl, like, if everyone interviews for that, poor girl, like, we don't know what they're doing, and that's not even part of the job. What were
You
you
say
gonna
that, you say
Yeah.
that, and I just said I wasn't affected by it, but now that I think about it, when I was pregnant with my first child, I hid the fact that I was pregnant when I
Oh,
went
wow.
to job search, just because I was afraid that I wouldn't get the position. And I ended up getting the position, and then when I was closer to leaving for maternity leave, I ended up leaving the job anyway because it felt uncomfortable.
Wow.
Well, and I honestly think a lot of hiring managers and companies assume a lot of women, a good percentage of them, will leave their job while they're on maternity leave because that whole,
Yeah.
and that it does happen.
It does.
But
yeah.
it's not everyone's situation, but it does
Exactly. And a lot of it is, hey, Nicole, a lot of it is too, some of that is the assumption that,
Right.
and then not making it easy for working moms to come back into, there has to be that flexibility
Right.
within families, that are, because Brandy, you had talked earlier too, that like you were a mom, but not like a mom in the traditional sense, and so
Right.
not having that flexibility of working with that.
Right, you were asking how we were feeling earlier when we knew about this topic coming up, and for me it was anxiety and frustration because I'm like, well, I'm not a mom, but I've been there, and so that's kind of
We're caregivers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Caregivers are still important. Like, even if you don't, you're still taking care of a mom sometimes. So I think a lot of those pressures that we place on women are a little crazy because that's a lot of burnout. Because if you're working and you're not getting support, a lot of times you're not even getting support at home. You're not getting support at work.
Right.
It's a multitude of things. And a lot of times what suffers are the kids.
Oh, absolutely.
That's really what happens.
Absolutely. And that you had brought up, I just forgot how like you had put it, but they do the women who are moms in the workplace actually, it isn't written down, but it's the perception of that women are being held, moms are held to a higher standard of punctuality than anybody else in the workplace, which then turns around and then has a negative impact on like reviews and that kind of thing. And reviews are important for getting the pay raises and that kind of thing. So, so it is that whole thing. And then we feel like, I'm like, no wonder we've got this whole Wonder Woman, Superwoman complex of like we have to do everything because you feel like you know that the expectations, and again they're not communicated verbally to you, but you know that they're there.
I think it has to start at changing the corporate culture in how people see productivity. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I could have done all this work within 4 hours. Why am I here 8? Taking a whole hour break, having a whole hour lunch. Like, to me, it's like that's so outdated already. Like, why are, I mean, women now, we're all multitaskers. We can get stuff done super fast, super quick. Why the insistence that it has to be a 9 to 5? Why the insistence that we have to stick to that sort of thing? Why the insistence on having meetings all the time when sometimes a quick email will fix it? I mean, there's just the whole corporate culture is so outdated.
And I agree. And I was going to say, as far as seeing working moms they're some of the most productive people in any company because they have to know how to multitask. And they're not sitting there chatting and, you know, they're in there to get stuff done.
Absolutely.
And they get it done and they get out of there because they have to. And it's, you were asking as far as what we thought when you first said this topic, and I was thinking, well, I'm not a mom. I don't know how I'm going to be able to contribute to the conversation. But I mean, I've been in the workplace, even though I work for myself now. When I was still in a corporate America or business structure where I went to an office, I saw a lot as far as that. I saw it on both sides as far as the moms being penalized, those of us who don't have children potentially being penalized as a result of it. But I will give credit where credit is due. Working moms are the most productive people walking the earth, I do believe.
Yes.
Can you
I just got
expand a
text
little
message
bit
from
on
my
that?
husband saying that we're cutting in and out a lot.
We are cutting in and
okay.
out a lot. What do we need to do?
We have to stop it. That's what it's saying. We have to do the low setting.
Okay. Do you want to stop it and then we?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Take a
All right,
short
so we're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back. So sorry, but apparently we are having some tech difficulties. So we'll be right back in just a second. Are we live?
The only thing I can say is make
Scoot in. Here we go. We can scoot in. We can scoot in. We like each other.
I'm hungry, but not that hungry.
You can scoot around some more if you need to.
You good?
so it's live. I'm okay.
It's live. All right. Okay, so we are back. Guys, we apologize. Having some technical difficulties here. It's our first show back after a couple of months, and so we're just, it's one of those kind of days. Not really sure if it's really a Monday. So, so if you are joining, I know it's not. It's Tuesday. I'm like, ay. And we were just even talking about the fact that like a lot of times we should have it going live and broadcasting while we think that it isn't broadcasting because we had some really good conversation going on while we were off camera. Yeah, we got a little fired up. So to pick us back up, we're talking about, in case you didn't see the first half of this broadcast, we're picking up with the motherhood penalty. And so one of the questions that Elise had asked while you guys weren't listening was asking about, because we had talked about the fact that while there's the motherhood penalty for sure, people who are single a lot of times get kind of like a penalty as well. Leslie and I were sharing, and Brandy was sharing some things that had happened to us because we actually weren't parents at the job. So I know that a lot of times people who are single, women who are single, are essentially like tasked to pick up the slack for those who are parents. I don't know if you guys wanted to share kind of like your experience with that.
Well, we're just talking about as far as people assume we have nothing else going on because we don't because we're not married or we don't have children.
Right.
And so therefore we must have so much time on our hands. and it happens, and so it goes both ways in the workplace as far as the motherhood penalty. There was also the women who don't have kids were like, oh, well, you could stay later.
Right.
Or, or
That's what happened at my job. Yeah,
you were-
all the ladies with children can go ahead and leave early today, and I'm like, I don't have children, but I got a life, and I've kind of raised kids, and can I go too? And they said no.
Wow.
Well, and my personal opinion on that is that, so I felt penalized on the other end But, so it's a choice for women to have children, and it's a choice for women to not have children.
Exactly.
Right.
And neither one is right or wrong, and no one should be penalized for any decision that they make.
Absolutely.
And that was what I wanted to bring to this discussion.
It's like, I don't want.
I'm like, that's my point.
Yeah,
Yes.
and why are we having to make those decisions, or why
Right.
do we have to make those choices and justify them to anyone?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't you just decide I don't want to have children, and that's okay, and that's fine. I don't want anybody questioning me. I don't want anybody asking me why. What? Da, 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 da. No. That's a decision I made. I have 2 boys. Okay, do you get to tell me why I had 2 kids or what?
No,
Not
yeah.
at all.
Not at all.
If I don't want a third, I don't want a third. It's my choice.
Absolutely.
There's just
Do you
like a
get that
why.
question too?
Yeah. Well,
It shouldn't
it's
matter.
a cultural
Yeah.
thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you should have more. You're so young. It's like,
I tell them all the time, I have a business. That's my 3rd baby.
That's the 3rd
and
baby.
that's
This
the-
boutique
that's
is
the
my
one
little
that's
girl.
taking the most
Yeah.
time, so that's it.
And I think one thing that you were saying, as far as it was, it's trickle down from as far as laws and things in place and the mentality in the workplace. It's trickle down as far as when women weren't in the workplace years and years
Right.
ago.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they were, and there was these other issues that men didn't really have to deal with prior to us
Exactly.
coming to the
So-
workforce. But it's trickled down as far as,
Exactly.
even though we're, 50, 60, 70 years later and
Right.
we're working, it's just,
these are outdated policies
outdated.
that were created by men, and the men have decided this is how we want you to be in the world. It's
Which,
Okay,
to me,
well,
it leads
wait.
me to a thought of,
well,
are
who's in the
those-
legislature now?
Okay,
Mostly
but
men.
okay, wait. Well, this is true, and trust me, ugh, I know. But the research also shows though that women are equally as
Responsible.
responsible
For their own
for no like
shitty-
managers. No, we're really getting real. No, just I mean like. Female managers are just as guilty of
okay.
applying this motherhood penalty to women and the reverse fatherhood reward as men are. So, and I don't, and is it because, we've got the culture of everything that is kind of
it all
developed
goes
to that, but
back
we
to
still
women
are.
being the homemakers, women needing to be at home and in the kitchen, and that mentality. It all goes back to that. That's why
Yeah.
there's such a penalty on it. It's like, if you're not in the kitchen, then you're gonna get penalized for wanting to go to work. It's like, no, I'm sorry.
And if you're a woman
Yeah.
who wants to be in the kitchen cooking and being like my mother was, that's perfectly fine too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's lovely for you. That's your life. You decided to do that, but you made that decision for yourself.
No, absolutely. I mean, it is. I totally lost it. Go ahead, Leslie.
well, I was going to say, as far as women being the harder, harsh against other women,
Right.
and living up to that and kind of playing into that. Some of that is jealousy, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you've got something I want,
Right.
and so I'm going to work you harder because, you're kind of what I would like to have, or the reverse. One or the other. It's kind of, so it's all these different things going on as far as dynamics and competition,
Yes.
fears.
And now the mom competitions, it's like, okay, I work this. I have these 2
Oh my
kids. My kids
God.
are so perfect. They have all these things that they do. They do all these activities. My husband makes all this
It is
kind of money.
ridiculous.
It's like
Yeah.
And I
such
Pinterest all these things for
ridiculous.
my kids,
There's
and
no,
they-
oh my
gosh.
the funny lunches where their
awful.
sandwiches are like butterflies. And, seriously?
Hey, my mom did that for me.
The
Cookie cutter.
There wasn't a contest. It seems like
Probably
a
not a contest back then.
No, but
There were no selfies of pictures of all of
within
that.
ourselves, we're competing for that.
Yeah.
That's not.
Well, see, and that's and that's like I was saying earlier too, is this whole, no wonder we've got the Wonder Woman complex where we have to do it all, because essentially within work we feel like we have to do it all, and you're looked at less than if you can't do it all. And that was the thing that I was trying to remember, is that, and I think a reason why a lot of women don't re-enter the workforce after being out, because when they go to re-enter the workforce, like the conflict that you were having, what you came across, is that women then are, when they come back in, I'm like, you've been gone 18 months. It's not as if you just have lost all of this knowledge and skill and everything like that, and that you aren't bringing something more to the table. Well, then you're
Right.
penalized hugely when it comes to your salary, and you never catch up.
Right.
Because not only are you starting lower, but
yeah.
then because you were out a little bit, and then these assumptions, like that's the other thing too, is that it's never even, a lot of times the women aren't even asked like, hey, are you interested in this promotion? Hey, are you interested in going? It's the assumption
Yeah.
that it's, well, she's a mom. Okay, so she's not going to want to travel or, that kind of stuff. So it's not even getting the opportunity to turn it down because everybody's assuming you don't want it because now you have kids.
So you just get passed over
Exactly.
across the board.
Across the board. So,
That's a very good point. That's
Yeah.
very different too.
That one of the notes that I had taken was that adding on to that is that the penalty is per child when it comes to your wage.
oh, wow.
So when I brought up the discussion with my family, my daughter in particular was like, so are they trying to insinuate that every time that you have a child, you get a little dumber? Because that's, and I was like,
That's
I
the
mean,
mentality.
ultimately that's kind of what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely not. I mean, you take some time off, but your mind it works the same. Right?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
anything, you have, attained new skills. So
Yeah, absolutely.
how does that, why should you be penalized for that is beyond me.
No, exactly. I mean, they think, and the penalty, I think, comes from, and again, I'm making an assumption, but I think the penalty, too, with adding to the family is that then, well, now your time is being stretched even more or whatever. And so it's just, I don't know. So what I want to do, because we've talked a little bit about, like, bringing some awareness about what the motherhood penalty is and looking at kind of both sides, moms and single moms and that kind of thing. But what I want to talk to us now about is, like, what do we think that, what should be some changes that we're seeing? Like, how can we start, not just us, but viewers out there as well, like, what are some things that we think that we could be doing to help shift that mindset and shift those assumptions that are happening out in the workplace?
So for sure, I can say one thing, especially in corporate America, for bosses to not tell their male employees, just tell your wife to get the kids when they're sick or when school calls or anything like that. That's thing number one. Like, it should be equal responsibility. So I think that's one thing that encourages those changes, because that means that her job is just as important as his job, and he is able to be responsible and take responsibility for his kids as well. So I think that's one change that could happen.
I like that.
And I've seen that happen quite often, just because female employees of mine that are moms would say, well, I have to go get the kids this time. And it's like every time, and I'm sitting there wondering, like, why can't your husband help?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's because his job's more important because he makes more money and so on and so forth. So it's just like, well, if companies would start to see families being equal responsibility on both parents, then that would change.
And I would
Absolutely.
say, from a non-parent looking in, a lot of that starts at home, because it's how you really instill that in your sons. Because if they are raised with the same mentality, they're going to be those bosses that are penalizing.
Yep.
So if you're from childhood, if a boy is raised with understanding that girls are equal and girls are just as valuable regardless of the situation, they grow up to be the managers
The
and
supportive
Right.
the
husbands
supportive
too.
HUD. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it does start a little, not just the companies.
Absolutely.
But not saying we
in
can't
the
change
family,
them.
Right.
and
In the
raising
families.
children.
Like, who came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly,
Does it change
exactly.
in the work environment, or does it change at home first? And it
Exactly.
has to be a mutual
It has to be
change.
both, I think.
Exactly.
And I think women need to start really electing other women. Not only that, but as well putting themselves out there to be chosen to lead.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I think we have this stigma sometimes, like, oh, I don't want to be that person that goes out there and, like, thinks she can
Right.
do everything. This whole, thing where you're not sabotaging, you're like, there's like women who don't want to be too successful because, God forbid
Yeah.
she loses her friends because she's so
Right.
successful. So be that woman that puts yourself out there, be the leader, because if you feel like something needs to change, be the change you want to see.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And BB, thanks for joining us back over here in this one. I appreciate that. I appreciate your persistence in wanting to watch the show. And she said, great point. So, like, one of the things, too, that I think was, well, not, I didn't think it because I can't, but I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, that's so right. It's because there is this, and it was a study that was done, an article done by Vox. And there's actually, like, IBM is a company that's starting a mommy track, but it's a mommy track in a different kind of perspective,
Yeah, I
in a
read
different
that
way.
the same time.
And the point that they made in there, employers can no longer pretend that treating women like men in skirts will fix retention problems. And I'm like, oh my
Interesting.
God. I'm like, that's totally the way that we treat women in the workplace a lot of times. Is like, or even like a lot of times too that women are acting as if I'm just a dude. I want to be treated just like a dude in a skirt when I'm at my job or whatever. And it's kind of like, well, but you're not, you know? So all of us, and I would think too, like with your point about, absolutely, it's okay. So knowing that we have managers, male and female, who are making assumptions about moms that they don't want the job, then I think part of it is too that we need to be proactive in that. And that if you want that promotion, then let your managers know, let your supervisors know, hey, I really am, I know I've got 2 kids at home, but I really am interested and I'm willing to do the work. Hey, Mike, could you do me a favor and kind of, so that way I can read everything that BB says. So she says, BB says, you're welcome. Very interesting topic. Ironically, my post on Instagram today is about this topic, and I'm glad I was able to catch it with this live session. Thanks, BB. I will have to go and check out what you posted on Instagram today. It's funny how things seem to kind of click and coincide at the same time. So what are some other ways? Any other thoughts about like how we can start shifting? And I know that it's going to be, a lot of us are impatient like me.
I'm
Maybe the
very
only-
impatient. I want things to happen now.
No, exactly. It's like changing right now. So what are some other things that we can start doing that's going to help kind of infiltrate workplaces and things like that?
How about supporting each other and pushing
Yes.
each other? If there's an opportunity that comes out, hey, Leslie, would you want to take this one? Let's go. It's your
Exactly.
take it.
Yeah.
Like, but be more like, hey, I just found something great. I'm not good for it, but let me give it to another woman instead of having to, go outside of your circle. What about your circle? There's a
Yeah.
lot of capable people, and start supporting each other, finding opportunities out there. Maybe you can't take the opportunity, but there's another person that may. So
Absolutely.
just be like, start creating a real beautiful synergy between women.
And speaking
Absolutely.
of circles, why do we have such a segregated circle? Like, why is there like a mompreneur clique and I can't be a part of that? Like I'm the same age and same passionate compassions and
Yeah.
and whatnot. So why is there such a
Maybe
distinction
you should
between?
ask.
Yeah.
Why can't I join your group? You probably could join their group.
I don't know. Maybe,
and if
it's a fleeting thought. I go on to something. I'm more like y'all suck. I don't know.
I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, But why is that? Why do we have to bring motherhood into the
because
workplace?
they like forming cliques. Women
Well,
do like forming
we do.
cliques. They like hanging out with the same.
So
type
what's
of
my
women
clique?
all the
Single and
time.
sappy and
Fabulous.
Single savvy and
Or those of
fabulous.
us who we call panks, the whole professional aunt, not
Oh, nice. I'm like,
What
I've never
is
heard of,
that?
like I've never heard of Panks. Am I Panks?
what is I can't remember what the N and the K stands
do I
for.
want to
but
be a
it's-
Panks?
I can't think of what the term is.
Professional.
Professional aunt. It's
Aunt.
professional aunt.
To nieces,
Not
and
not kids.
Yeah, no kids, no kids. I
kids.
guess professional.
So I'm
professional aunt,
so
no
we're
kids.
Panks.
There we
We're
go.
the
I'm
Panks
already
Club.
I know,
that.
okay.
You're the
I heard that term. I was
mompreneurs,
like,
the
oh, that
Panks
makes
Club.
sense.
Okay, so I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate to the on mompreneurs, and the reason why I think that it's good for them to at least kind of be together is because of the fact that they do face
They
unique
need support,
situations
yeah,
and that
I
kind of
get
thing,
it.
and be able to kind of like, but it's still it's like
I
you
get
don't
it.
know-
I
you don't know
totally
if we're
get
gonna-
it.
I might be a future
But I'm just
mompreneur.
like, hey.
Or like, how about like let's collaborate? Let me see how I can support.
Don't forget
the
about
mompreneur.
me. Like I know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's silly.
I know. We
But
are going
it's
to
a very
start our
real
own
thing.
called Panks. We're going to be the Pankpreneurs.
Can we just go live and be awesome
Sounds like
women?
Spankspreneur.
I know.
We could, what's her name? We could get Sarah Blakely to like be like our
Panks
like,
with Spanks.
oh, Panks. Oh my goodness, she could be our sponsor.
There you go.
Just shout that out there to Sarah Blakely. You know,
Universe.
exactly. Putting that out there, Sarah. Come on and join us. You know you want to. So we have. Granted, we had some technical difficulties and everything, and we do appreciate those of you who popped into both of the live broadcasts of the show. We do appreciate it. If you have ideas for topics that you'd like for us to discuss, be sure to either pop it here in the comments, or you can send me a private message on Nerdy Girl Success. Let me know. Let me know if you'd like to be on the show too. Looking to promote different women entrepreneurs as well as different topics and that kind of thing. Oh, I'm also really looking for some teen girlpreneurs. So I'd love to, got some ideas and things like that for the teen girls who are out there starting their own businesses and things. So please let me know if you get me in contact if you know one or if you are one. So have a great rest of your Tuesday. Hope you have no technical difficulties like we did, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.